Hi, I'm Tom Costain. Welcome to this week's episode of Studio Q.
Hi, I'm Andrea Ellison. Tonight's lineup includes an in-depth look at dating on campus, a meeting with 600 cats, and the harsh reality of student ghetto break-ins. But first, here's our feature story.
A former Queens student who was found guilty of sexually assaulting 5 women in one night last April while under the influence of drugs has decided to launch an appeal. The AMS Judicial Committee has recommended that William Ma be expelled from Queens to protect the safety of the women he attacked. But his appeal has opened up debate on the case once again. Here's Mike Wise to report on the situation.
There are 2 or 3 choice chairs up here at the table.
The Queen's University Senate met last week, but one item was missing from their agenda: the fate of former commerce student William Ma. Earlier that afternoon, Ma, now a student at the University of Toronto, served notice that he intended to appeal an AMS Judicial Committee recommendation that he be expelled from Queens for sexually assaulting 5 women in one night. Now the Senate must await the outcome of a grievance board before making a decision.
He admitted his guilt, and the committee handed down the decision. So I really didn't see why he would appeal, but he does have the right, and he's going to do it.
Michael Walsh is the clerk for the AMS Judicial Committee. They'll have to appear before the grievance board to defend their decision. But until Ma indicates why he's appealing, there's little they can do.
We have no idea at all. It could either be a matter of the sanction that he's appealing, the fact that he's being they're recommended for an expulsion, or it could be a procedural matter of he doesn't agree with the way the committee held the hearing.
The events surrounding the case took place back on April 26th. Ma decided to celebrate the end of his exams by going to a friend's house where he smoked half a joint of marijuana and tried a gram of magic mushrooms. He and his friends went out for a night on the town before Ma left the group to head back to his residence. On his way down University Avenue, he assaulted a woman by forcibly kissing her on the lips.
After that, William Ma came here to Victoria Hall. Witnesses say he had no shirt on and that he tried to tackle a woman as she entered the building by grabbing her around the torso. She managed to release herself, but then Ma attacked her again as she was waiting for an elevator. After that incident, she called Queen's security. By that time, Ma was on his way back to his room on the E-wing of the 3rd floor. There, he sexually assaulted another woman while she was brushing her teeth. He then tried to force his way into her room. Ma assaulted 2 more women, including his Dawn, before he was finally arrested by the Kingston police force. Lisa Zawadsky works at the Queen's Women's Center. She's concerned for the survivors of William Ma's assaults and wants him kept away. She personally sees no other alternative but for the grievance board in the Senate to expel him.
So as far as his community services go, I think that the best service that he could do to this community is get away from it and get help.
But would Ma have acted the way he did if he wasn't under the influence of narcotics? Studio Q talked to one of Ma's friends who smoked drugs with him that night. He asked not to be identified, but says Ma's actions were beyond his control.
He claims he doesn't remember a thing about the incident and that the drugs clouded his mind. What do you think of that defense?
Well, I think that the drugs had the power to do that. I'm going to stay away from them from now on, but they did have the power. I know that. Whether I would tend to think that he was really out of control. Maybe he had some recollect, but I think he was out of control of his body.
There's a lot of men on this campus who become extremely violent when they drink. And there's a lot of drinking that goes on in this campus, and they should know. They should know that if they are going to be, violent when they are on drugs or when they're drinking, then they shouldn't be using that substance, and that's their responsibility.
I really think that he's not the type to commit that crime again, nor to take those kind of drugs again. So, talking to one of his friends, and she said that he has the lowest esteem possible. He feels like nothing. He feels worthless and useless, and he feels guilty.
But Zawadsky says his guilt doesn't change a thing for the women he assaulted.
But if he feels really bad about it, he should be getting help, and he should be getting away and stopping like any further hurt that he can cause.
Once the grievance committee has heard from both sides in the appeal, it'll send its recommendations to the Queen's Senate. But with all that work, a final decision in the Ma case may not be available for a couple of months. But Ma will be kept busy defending himself in the meantime. He's due back in court here at the end of October to face 2 criminal charges of sexual assault and 1 count of assaulting a police officer. Michael Wise, Studio Q.
Good story, Mike. Most people like pets. The average family might have a dog, a cat, a couple of fish, or maybe all 3. But Studio Q reporter Bronwen found something here in the Queens Ghetto that is far beyond average.
The following story is dedicated to the late Dr. Seuss and his cat in the hat. As the first capital of Canada, home of John A. Macdonald and Fort Henry, Kingston can claim many honors. However, these glory days aren't a thing of the past. As the home of the only Canadians to win a National Enquirer contest, the city once again rises to prominence and fame.
This is Bronwen Lowe in the home of Jack and Donna Wright. They're Kingston residents and are the only people in Kingston, Canada, and perhaps even the world that have 600 cats in their home.
The contest was won in December of 1987 when the Wrights had less than 200 cats. They now have triple that amount. Why?
We had no intention of having this many cats. But people just phoned you out of the blue. I don't know where they get our names to say, well, I understand you take cats in, will you take my cat? And most of the people now, their excuse is they're getting allergic to it. If they've had them for 2 or 3 years, we get they're allergic to them.
It costs the Wrights an estimated $1,000 a week to care for their animals. They must feed them, provide them with litter, give them shots, eye drops, pills, and fix as many as possible.
There's always a sick cat. There's always. There's nothing you can't, like, they'll tell you that with a multi-cat family, there's always a virus in the air. So you just keep on top of it, that's all you do. Like, she spends 2 or 3 hours a day giving them medicine and shots. Yeah.
It's obviously a huge job.
The house is disinfected every day.
I start early in the morning. It takes me about 10 straight hours a day.
The Wrights, owners of Ms. Donna's painting and decorating company, have installed a private gazebo for the cat so they can freely get fresh air. They cannot, however, leave its confines. Jack and Donna, however, still have troubles with unsupportive neighbors.
Like the city, they keep trying to pass bylaws and bylaws, but I don't see why, because our cats don't bother anybody. They're inside.
What do your neighbors think?
We only got the one neighbor next door, and she doesn't like cats anyways. At one time, there was about 8 strays outside, and the neighbor next door complained. The Board of Health said, Jack, get them off the street. They were blaming us for the cats coming around, so I caught them all and brought them in.
However, they have many other supporters. Children from Kingston Daycare have visited several times, and the Wrights received letters from all over North America from admiring cat lovers. Future glory? Jack and Donna Wright have been promised a mention in the next printed Guinness World Book of Pet Records.
I thought I had a lot of trouble handling all my housemates, let alone 600 cats, but each September when the student population migrates back to Kingston, city police always answer a rash of burglary complaints. Though students play to a stereotype of poverty, we do possess a large amount of saleable goods which make our homes attractive to thieves. Bruce Sellery reports on the ongoing problem of break-ins in the ghetto.
The end of Frosh Week for this ghetto household was a bit of a bust this year. They returned home after a night on the town to find that in the few hours that they'd been gone, someone had broken in through a third-story window.
I went up and I looked in my study there, and my change was all over the floor, and I noticed that all my discs were gone. I guess what happened is somebody climbed up the 2 roofs over there. I went through my window, and they didn't really take much. They just took CDs and Walkmans from my room and a couple other rooms.
Since then, they've put an alarm on that window to ring if opened. They also have a new dog to ward off burglars, but still recognize their vulnerability. Unfortunately, their story is not an original one. Stonehenge on Earl Street was hit 3 times over the summer. In fact, it seems that this year everyone knows someone who's been robbed. Kingston City Police are well aware of the problem, but say that the number of break-ins this past summer is par for the course. In August, there were 156 incidents in the city. 12 houses were broken into on University Ave alone. And while police do their best to capture the culprits, they're powerless to keep watch over the many houses that remain unoccupied over the summer. Constable Dave Bishop maintains that basic prevention is an effective defense.
If there's no opportunity, there's no crime. You are, or the students are their first line of defense. I don't know how often I've gone to a break and enter, and what's happened is several scenarios, but start by locking the doors. If they'd lock the doors and have some control over it, we wouldn't have these situations where we get there and there's no sign of forced entry, but the stereo is missing or the CD player is missing.
Install sturdy locks, take an inventory of your valuables, make the place look lived in on holidays, and be certain you're insured. Many people are distressed that in small-town Kingston we have to take big city precautions. Sonia Jacos was robbed while she was out of the house for only 10 minutes.
Even in an area that you seem to call your community where you're supposed to feel safe, you really can't.
The not-so-very-merry band of thieves working the ghetto seems to be getting bolder. There was a report this summer of a robbery that occurred during the night while the people lay asleep in their beds. While not a time to panic, Kingston police say it's time for students to start taking the proper precautions as quaint little Kingston battles increasing crime. For Studio Q, I'm Bruce Sellery reporting.
Fortunately, I've never been broken into, although I understand Bruce wasn't quite so fortunate himself either. Who knows the answers to the what is the meaning of the life and all those other pressing questions? The all-knowing, gender-neutral guru of Kingston is, that's who. Nick Kindler and Ron Tite went out on special assignment to find the wise one and to drink from his fountain of knowledge.
This week, Ron and I went undercover. Deep undercover. To find the non-gender specific, all-knowing guru of Kingston, so that that person could answer a few of life's questions for us.
Not wanting to scare the guru away, Nick and I carefully disguised ourselves so we could easily blend into the Kingston community. Cover as much ground as possible, Nick and I went our separate ways.
I'll start at the info bank. If they don't know, no one will. Do you know where the non-gender specific, all-knowing, all-powerful guru of Kingston is?
No.
We want to ask him some questions. Like, why are apartments called apartments when they're really so close together?
While Nick is on his route, I thought I'd check out the AMS office. Campus Activities Commissioner Colleen Kennedy. We are looking for the all-knowing, almighty guru of Kingston. Do you know where he or she might be?
Definitely in the bottom of my closet. I hear him mumbling every day, throwing around shoes. Quite wise man. Or
in the bottom of Colleen Kennedy's closet. Yes, folks, maybe he or she can answer, why did the Bradys only buy a house with 3 bedrooms?
Perhaps the rector can help us find the guru. Do you know where the guru is so that he could answer some of life's questions for us?
what are life's questions?
Like, why is the snooze alarm on your alarm clock only 9 minutes long? Let's go.
Okay, I'll tell.
Excuse me, do you know where the non-gender specific almighty guru is?
Never heard of him.
That's too bad, because we wanted to ask him some of life's questions. Like, do girls pee in the shower too?
Excuse me. Would you happen to know if the almighty, all-knowing guru is somewhere here in the Physical Education Center?
The what?
The guru, you know, the guy who answers questions like, why do we say take a poo when we actually leave one?
Do you know where the almighty guru of Kingston is so he can answer some of life's questions for us?
No, I'm sorry, I don't have.
Well, I guess we won't be able to find out why people don't work on Labor Day. I'm here at the office of Principal Smith. Perhaps he can help us. Nah.
Be very, very quiet. Yes. I just love the way the lines come together, don't you?
The lights run down.
Yes. By the way, do you know where we can find the Guru of Kingston?
I haven't seen him today.
That's too bad, because we were wondering if you could answer some of life's questions. Like, why is there no other word for thesaurus? think I may have actually found the Guru himself. Guru, old Guru. Don't alight. Maybe not. Hey, I'm out of here. Sad and dejected, Nick and I sauntered back to the Studio Q office, unsuccessful.
Well, we were unable to find the non-gender specific almighty all-knowing Guru of Kingston, which leads us to believe that the answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. And how...
All right. How many times have you almost become gender neutral as you hit yet another pothole while riding your bike through the ghetto, trying to make your early morning classes? Well, we all know that the streets around Kingston are famous for their bumps and jumps. Our reporter Dave Cruickshank brings us a story on the problem that plagues our roads.
Anyone using the streets of Kingston will have noticed their poor condition. Roads in the student ghetto have a reputation for their many potholes and subsequent puddles that make using the road a rather precarious expedition. The roads are especially harmful to bicycles.
You blow tires very easily in this city because of the potholes and stuff like that. The back tire's been blown 4 times since I've been here. And I've been here, what, 2 years?
I used to have a bike, but I sold my racing bike and bought a mountain bike. Road conditions are terrible.
Is the city neglecting the student ghetto area? In the past 5 years, almost $1 million has been spent on major and minor road construction in the student ghetto area. In 1986, University Avenue from Union to Brock Street was redone, and this past summer, one half of University from Union to King Street was repaved. Nothing, however, has been spent on many of the back streets in the student ghetto area for some time.
I guess the ghetto earns its reputation by the city doesn't fix up the streets. It looks like this. I mean, the students don't really mind, but yeah, the houses it's hard not to call it a ghetto.
This is Kingston City Yard, the heart of Kingston's infrastructure maintenance. Bob Gagne, supervisor of streets, declined to give an interview on camera, but he did say that the one cause of the problem is money. Mr. Gagne said that Kingston has some of the oldest sewer systems in the country. There is no point in fixing the surface until what's below can be replaced, according to Mr. Gagne, and that is a very expensive process. According to Mr. Gagne, budgets have been tight for the past 5 years, and that means setting priorities on where money goes. Some feel, however, that the road's poor condition presents a threat to more than their bicycles.
I ran into a pothole and did a somersault over my handlebars, and a bike landed on me, and then my buddy tried to run me over because he was right behind me, and it was kind of interesting.
I almost had an accident. It wasn't due to the road conditions, though.
According to the Kingston Police Department, there were 38 bicycle accidents last year. Of those, only 6 did not involve another vehicle. 60% were directly related to traffic violations. Moderating speed and wearing a bicycle helmet are probably good pieces of advice for anyone choosing to ride the roads of Kingston. Beyond that, the potholes are avoidable. It seems as though putting up with poor road conditions will remain a part of ghetto living, at least in the short term. I'm Dave Cruickshank for Studio Q.
Date? What's a date? Is it a number on a calendar, or is it a cousin of the prune? These answers seem to be more common here at Queen's than our last option, an evening out with someone special. Liz Eustance took to the streets to examine how students these days feel about dating.
On Streetwise, we're going to be exploring the sensitive issue of dating here at Queen's. I think some of you will be interested in some of the responses that we get and see how you fit into the dating category. It's a bit frightening, so just hold on to your hats.
And I've been seeing one person for the last couple of years, so I just see her, and that's it.
So I think we're going back to traditional ways of dating and sticking to one person, being monogamous.
I don't date anybody. I live with somebody.
It's just a slow season, though. You know, sometimes it picks up, but...
We met in residence, first year.
People go out in groups. I mean, I remember reading an article last year about, I think the rector, I can't remember exactly who wrote it.
I don't really think that dating goes on that much here. I don't really think it goes on as much anywhere as it probably used to.
Okay, are you getting your hair cut for a date?
No.
No? Yeah, you date a lot?
All the time. You can ask my girlfriend, she just kind of went over there.
Yeah.
We're engineers. We haven't had time for that yet.
It's a very cliquey thing.
Dating to me is maybe, but if somebody could call me, I would be really willing to go on a date.
What's your favorite date spot?
Early evening, we like to start off maybe around here or the Treehouse Cafe.
We usually end up at Alfie's for a while and then Kokomo's to dance the night away.
Are you presently dating here at Queens?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, I'm just looking for a girlfriend now, actually. Got a couple plants here if anyone's interested.
But as far as, you know, dressing and stuff, I mean, I love to get dressed up. And here, I mean, you're looked at strangely. I like the idea. It's a celebration.
There's not as many social functions at Queens as there are at Western because we don't have fraternities and sororities and stuff like that. But I think it's just as conducive to dating.
Not a lot of dates for me. Yeah, not enough, anyways.
Okay. No, it's not on yet, is it?
This is Lizzie's just signing off for Studio Q. Quite frankly, a little discouraged from the results that we found today. Perhaps the real reason is right over my head why people at Queens just aren't going out and dating enough. Till next week, take care.
Last Friday and Saturday night, Grant Hall was the site for a student-written and directed musical production. Creations was written by Queen's Simon Isherwood, Jim Codrington, and Anthony Bastianon. It was originally performed to acclaim in Oakville in August of last year. The musical provides a whole new and hilarious look at the theory of the creation of the world. It was a wonderful performance which was warmly received by the mixed Queens and Kingston audience.
Most students read the Journal, Queen's bi-weekly paper, and all students watch Studio Q, the renowned campus news show. But how many are aware that Queens also has a voice on the airwaves? Melisa Kamibayashi checks out our radio station, CFRC.
Queen's University is withholding a deep, dark secret within the basement of Carruthers Hall. This secret is CFRC radio station.
I asked around to see if anyone knows what CFRC is.
Yes.
CFRC. Oh, I don't know. Canadian Forces. That's my best guess. I have no idea. No.
Okay.
Brutally truthful.
Do you know what CFRC is? I take that as a no.
CFRC is Queen's University's radio station, which began as an engineering project in 1922 and is still on the air today, 98 hours a week. Maureen Cottenham, the station manager, gives us a brief description of their diverse programming.
Like as I mentioned before, our gay and lesbian programming with Chris Veldhoven, he does an excellent job with it, and it presents a lot of very interesting views and viewpoints. We also have Ghetto Boom with Mark Heron. He does a lot of the black urban dance music. We also have our new noise, which we call, this is for all our new music that comes into the station. We are required to play a certain percentage of new music. As well as we have people, all kinds of like ethnic programming, specialty programming, classics, jazz, blues. You name it, we basically touch it.
The people should listen. You know, it's what you won't get in the Journal. It's what you won't get in the other campus papers or Kingston papers. It's music you won't hear on other stations, and it's opinions you probably won't hear anywhere else.
Now that people know about CFRC, are they going to tune in? Skippy says, definitely.
CFRC is hoping to expand its airtime to 24 hours within the next 2 to 3 years. Until such time, indulge in this secret at 101.9 FM. I'm Melisa Kamibayashi for Studio Q.
For anyone who didn't catch the Gales' victory over Concordia last Saturday, Studio Q's Kim Chatterson did. Here's some of the highlights of the game.
That wraps up tonight's show. Be sure to tune in next week to see an interview with Preston Manning, the head of the controversial Reform Party, a peek at the new campus hotspot, the Treehouse Cafe, and answers to the question, what's your beef? So Tom, speaking of dating, what are your plans for the weekend?
Well, I think on Friday I'm going to go check out the Grapes of Wrath show and see them at Grant Hall. Are you going to that, or?
Oh, are you asking me?
Want to go on a date on Friday night?
Sounds
each week, courtesy of the AMS and Kingston CableNet. If you want, anytime, feel free to drop by the Studio Q office, which is in room 21 of the JDUC. Thanks for watching, and Andrea and I will see you next week.
Good night.